All right, let's welcome in Bam. Bam, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for the time. Been trying to have you on for a minute, so we appreciate you coming on. I know you're on the road, getting ready to play the Bulls. We were doing background on the show, and I spent a lot of time obviously in North Carolina. I grew up in Virginia, and you were born in Newark, but then you and your mom moved down to Pinetown, North Carolina, and it's a place I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And judging by the census, there's like 200 people in the town. So tell me a little bit about Pinetown, North Carolina.
It's very rural. So like there's no walking, like we have in Miami or like Brooklyn. There's no walking 5 minutes to a Walgreens or a CVS. In my town, there was like one grocery store, and that was the one my mom worked at. And fortunately, she could walk to work because she didn't drive. So yeah, it was a bunch of nothing but basketball and woods. I mean, from the group of kids that I had, we was outdoors a lot. So we just played basketball on the street. And it was just like, we just fell in love with it. But other than that, it was boring. Nothing too much to do. Everybody lived 30 plus minutes away from each other. And there were no street lights, deer, and, occasional bear.
Was it always basketball for you? Or did you play other sports?
I played football and I played baseball when I was in middle school. Baseball was it was different to me. I didn't really much like baseball that much when I was younger, but I gave it a try. I wanted to be pitcher, but I didn't have the skill set for that at the time.
Bam, a lot of people have said had I not given up baseball as a middle schooler that I would have pitched in the big leagues. A lot of people have said that.
One person has said this who's on the Zoom call right now.
I do feel like I could have went far if I would have stuck with it. They would have made me like a 6'10" pitcher, like, can't nobody really guess what I'm doing because I'm so tall on the mound. So like by the time it leaves my hand, it's halfway to the plate because I'm throwing all fastballs because that's all I need how to do.
There you go.
Football's a good what if though. You as a tight end could have been crazy.
I loved playing defensive end. That was like my favorite position on the field. Like I just felt like it was just it was unique to me. I could use my quickness, and then I had size.
Bam, tell us about young Bam, the basketball player, playing in this small town. How did you get so good? How did you find competition in Eastern North Carolina?
So my first 3 years, I stayed at my public school. And my junior year, I averaged like 40 and 20. Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't only like, people in my town saying that I needed to go to a new school for better competition, but it was also me because I was like, I can't keep averaging this. This is too easy at this point. So I made a decision, and my mom, it's always been me and my mom, and she allowed me to leave the nest early. And I went to Greensboro, North Carolina, and I went to the school, High Point Christian Academy. It was a private school, and it was like all the top dudes in my area at the time. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be in the mix, and it gave me better exposure than I was getting in my little town.
Did Duke and UNC recruit you?
Yes.
Like, did they offer you, or did they write you a typed letter? Like, what kind of recruitment here?
With Duke, I got a typed letter. With UNC, it took them until my sophomore, junior year to offer me. but it didn't match my agenda. It didn't match what I wanted to do with my life. You know, I went to Kentucky one time, and it just felt like it was home. Like I just felt like it was the place for me. The assistant coach, Kenny Payne, was like one of the people that really convinced me to go. And that was because he said, I was going to be honest with you. You know, we're going to work, and you can be here 8 months, do what you're supposed to do, and you can go take care of your family. And for me, I always wanted to take care of my mom because I wanted to get her out of Pinetown, North Carolina.
What was that recruitment process like for you, knowing that you wanted to eventually get to the NBA? And Calipari obviously has talked about this publicly, but what were the things they were telling you about sort of fitting into that one and done cycle that they've had now for a decade plus?
The biggest thing was we all had to sacrifice. So what you were doing in high school does not matter, basically. We're starting fresh. It felt like a fraternity process, how I put it to a lot of people. Knowing like fraternity processes and how they go, you know, you're there for it. You can't say anything about it. And it's it strips you down to like to you. And that's what it did to a lot of us at Kentucky. You know, just going through that pressure as a 18-year-old kid, having to hold this standard for a university, and the history they have behind it, the dudes that, you know, went to Kentucky before me and how they performed. Everybody's going to the Elite Eight, you know, Final Four. Some got to the national championship, some won, some lost. So seeing that, it was like, from the time I stepped in, I knew it was a standard for me. And then I was always going to be held to that standard.
I was going to follow up with that with just, did you, with De'Aaron and Malik and all these guys, was there any adjustment? You played with a lot of good players in high school and AAU and everything like that, but was there any adjustment to just the extreme talent level of stepping on that campus?
I mean, at the time, it was easy because we all looked there, like, obviously there was no money involved. So like we all looked at each other like we were
Yo, Tommy, do you like how you had to put that in? None of us suggested it, Bam. None of us suggested it.
But you know, when we get in the NBA, and JJ, you know this, some guys, you know, they change when money get in their pocket. Like,
okay,
that's
a fact.
Yeah, it's a fact. So going into college, we all were like, you know, we're young. We don't know what's ahead of us. And we just all, you know, took the responsibility as brothers. So it wasn't hard, you know, sacrificing, because we all wanted the same goal. We all wanted to win, and we all wanted to take care of our families.
We're recording this the day before the men's Final Four, the day of the women's Final Four. You guys made the Elite Eight. There was an epic game that De'Aaron had against UCLA in the Sweet 16 against Lonzo Ball. Obviously, that game is a lasting memory. But in terms of memories from Kentucky or memories from March Madness, are there any that stand out in particular?
The treadmill. Yeah, that's one memory that I don't care what anybody says. If you went to Kentucky, you know what the treadmill, like you heard it, because our assistant coach before practice. Now this is some mind-boggling stuff. Like what we was walking into every day, you didn't know. You didn't know what type of mood he was in. You didn't know, like, if we was just going to get shots up before practice. You didn't know if he was going to walk in and be like, all right, everybody, you know, a double suicide takeoff. You know, some days we would walk in and the treadmill just be running. So as an 18-year-old kid, like, somebody's going to, like, a couple of days, it just be on throughout the whole practice with nobody touch it. It was just like, to mentally mess with us, it was just that treadmill. I'm not gonna act like ain't nobody get on the treadmill. It was some victims on the treadmill, but to be diabolical to where I'm gonna just turn the treadmill on as fast as it can, and I'm gonna just let them hear it when they walk in. That is one memory, and also obviously when I'll say my other memory is when Malik had 30 and a half. We were playing Florida at the time, and I'm thinking I'm having this great game. I end the game with like 18 and 15, something spectacular. And he has 3 points at halftime and walks in halftime, and Coach Cal just, rips him one. And you can see it in his face, whole expression just changes. Like, it's just like there's nothing there. Like, he's just like, all right, you're gonna talk to me like that. I'm about to show you what I can do. And 30 and a half is incredible against obviously Florida, we have UD on the team, so I always bring that up every once in a while, just to tease him.
By the way, I'm happy for Malik, and he's obviously shown flashes of being a really good NBA player when he was in Charlotte, but to have the consistent season he's had, and really hoping that equals a nice payday for him this summer. On the treadmill front, I think this is an excellent example of college coaches, just basically mental fuckery.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's
mental fuckery. And, I love Coach, and he's been a friend now for over, 20 years. But that's how I describe my college experience. That's how I describe it. It was 4 years of mental fuckery. And I'm glad I went through it. But there certainly were days where you mentioned waiting to see what mood Cal was in, whether it was after a loss and you're waiting in that locker room and you're sick to your stomach because you have no fucking clue what's about to happen.
Like if you lose and it was like the next day in practice, it was like, all right, like, how y'all think he feeling today? Like, we all huddled up, like, how y'all think this is gonna go? Like at the end of the day, like you said, mental fuckery, which is exactly what it was. Like, it was just like we would lose and he'd be in a great mood. He'd be like, all right. And then we would win a game and then he'd be mad. And it was kind of like, so what balances you out, my guy? Like, what is your fix to like leave us alone with this shit?
What was there any question about coming out the draft?
Nah, I have this dope story for you. So after we lost to UNC, obviously we all got our moments, we all get our emotions out. And he calls me, Fox, and Malik in his office. Well, at the time, we were still there. So he called us in the little makeshift office they make for the coaches or whatever. And he was like, I appreciate y'all being a part of this team, appreciate y'all being a part of this family, but y'all will not be coming back here next year. I will rip your transcripts up tomorrow, and I want y'all to go take care of y'all families. And that was it. So it was like it wasn't an option at that point. At that point, he gave us the option to be like, you can't go back to school. So you go take care of y'all families. I'll meet y'all at the draft. We take all the pictures. We get all this exposure and we all have this fun. But, the biggest thing I loved about the guy was that he wanted guys to take care of their families at the end of the day.
Yeah. There's something that's very empowering about that. The flip side of that, of course, is that he probably had recruited a bunch of top 10 recruits and promised them the same thing, playing time, and you can leave after a year.
Yeah, that was, but it was just a crazy experience because I was like, damn, it's really over. Like, dang, like the 8 months, like went like that. Like, it didn't even feel like I was in college that long, which I wasn't. But it was just like, dang, this is a blur. Now you're telling me, like, if we wanted to try this over again, we could. No, you can't do that. Everybody, go get the fuck out, get drafted.
This is not a knock on Coach Cal at all, what I'm about to ask you, but you guys started Kentucky, of course. Kentucky started this past NBA season with the most players on opening night roster. I think it was 27. Cal had coached 26 of those guys. Rondo was the only one that he hadn't coached. Duke, of course, was second, of course, the only other school with more than 20. But given all that talent that he's had at Kentucky, he's only got one championship. Do you think that speaks to the randomness of college basketball or how hard it is to win with freshmen?
I'm gonna say how hard it is with freshmen, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, a freshman doesn't know what it feels like to lose in like the Final Four and then go back and be like, all right, we've had this experience, we had this hurt, we know what it feels like, we don't want that pain again. Like, as freshmen going out there, we just like, we just want to win, because it's like, at this point, it's a standard, and we've developed that standard. We've upheld that, and so I do feel like it's more so it's hard to win with all freshmen. Like, at the end of the day, it's not a lot of teams winning with 4 freshmen and a sophomore. Every once in a while somebody comes around and does it.
Yeah.
Is it common? No. So I feel like it's just that hard with freshmen.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there is a randomness, of course, to college basketball. In the NBA, you play a 7-game series, and generally speaking, barring an injury or sickness, the best team is generally going to win that series. I think the Duke's team with Zion and RJ and Cam Reddish, that team was so talented. Didn't even make the Final Four. Of course, we won in 15 with Tyus and Justice and Ja, but there was upperclassmen. Quinn Cook was a big part of that team as a senior. It's really hard. You talked about your mother. You brought her up a few times, and that night you get drafted. What does that moment mean? What are your memories from that night?
The moment I had was so my agent told me I can go anywhere from 9 to the end of the first round. So at that point, I'm like, all right. So the first 5, I was like, I'm definitely not going. Like, I'm gonna just, I'm enjoying my teammates' success. Fox was top 5. Jayson Tatum was top 5 at the time. So, like, everybody in my class from 1 through 14, like, we all knew each other. So when it got to round 11, because at 11 was Charlotte. I felt like that was home. Well, I felt like, Charlotte's home because I'm from North Carolina. They had got Dwight, so I was like, I'm not going to Charlotte. And then Detroit took Luke Kennard, and it was like 13 was Denver, and they switched it to Utah with Donovan. So on the 14th pick, I'm sweating because he already said I can go anywhere from 9 to the last pick anyway. So when it got to the double digits, I'm sweating. And it's my mom next to me on my left and my agent on the right. So the 14th pick pops up, and, they do the ticker. I'm sitting there talking and waiting, and I lean back. And I look at my phone, and a notification pops up because, I guess it's early when the team lets everybody know. So it flashes across my screen, and it's like, welcome to Miami, like some random fan. And my agent flips the phone. So I was like, damn, I'm about to get drafted. Not only am I getting drafted, but I'm going to Miami. Like, I can't describe the type of feelings I was having, because all of them was like all in a knot. Because one, I get to take care of my mom and she doesn't have to work a day in her life again. That was the biggest weight off my shoulders. But then on top of that, I got to go play for who's now top 15 greatest coaches of all time. And then also, the president, Pat Riley. You got the history with the big three. I've been watching them in the finals. I got to have a mentor like Udonis Haslem. Like, it was a lot of things that went into that one moment that was like, I was just like speechless for like a good 10 seconds. So the moment I got to walk across the stage was probably like the scariest, because, they give you the little steps and they tell you, make sure you don't fall. That's the one thing you don't want to do in draft night is fall. So that was probably the scariest part of my draft experience. But once I got up there, I was in my mind, my brain was turning like I'm finna go to Miami. Like, I don't, like, how do I express this? Like, my phone was blowing up, overheating. And it was just like, when I got back to my mom, that's when all my emotions just let out. And I got to cry a little bit for like 30 seconds. And then I, got myself together. She got herself together, and then we moved on. But, having that moment, it was just like, wow. Like, that's like one of the moments in somebody's life where it's like, it's a breathtaking moment for me. So that's under that category.
Yeah. There really is nothing like hearing your name called on draft night. And it's the beginning of what hopefully is a very long journey, but in my memory, it was very overwhelming. And I also had this weird sense of relief that the whole pre-draft process was done, of course. And then, that now I get to start this journey. How many teams did you work out for? If you're in that sort of range, 9 to 30, how many workouts did you do?
I worked out for 10 teams.
So 2017 is going to go down probably as one of the better drafts in recent memory, obviously. But looking where you are now and what you've accomplished, do you look at the 13 picks ahead of you a little bit, and even though you're in a great situation, and side eye it a bit?
Nah, I don't even look at it like that no more. I used to when I was like my first year. I was like, dang, he got, like. But now, it's right where I was supposed to be.
Well, it's a perfect situation, yeah.
Perfect situation. Because I looked at the first 13 and I was like, dang, man, like, I'm going to Miami. Some of y'all gonna be cold as shit.
Luke's going to Detroit.
Yeah, like, I was like, dog, it's cold there. Like, it was just like, who else? I worked out for Portland, and I remember Zach Collins went to Portland, and I was like, damn, it's gloomy as hell there. Like it rains all the time. And I was like, I get to go to Miami. So, like, I'm not mad at any of y'all that was like, you know what? Like, be the higher pick. Miami's cool with me.
What did you know about #Heat culture?
At the time?
Yeah, at the time when you got drafted. Did you know kind of what you were getting into?
No, not at all.
What were there early sort of shocks to your system?
Walking in the arena, you just feel the history. Like, you got the Champions Tunnel where you walk through, you see all the pictures from all 3 championships and, the legacy. And at the time, D-Wade wasn't on the team when I got drafted. He was with the
Cavs, I think, wasn't he?
Was it the Cavs?
It was 17, 18. Yeah, he was. I think he played that season with the Cavs, and then he ended up back in Miami for the playoff run.
So
your very short playoff run that year.
Yeah, very, very short. Fuck you. But walking in, it was just like, everybody that seen me on the street was like, "Oh man, you think D-Wade gonna come back?" And in my mind, I was like, I don't know. Like I'm new here myself. Like I don't know what you want me to say. That was probably the shock to my system when he actually came back, because he was sitting at his locker when I walked in, because I was always the first person. Obviously, I'm the rook. I gotta now towels. I gotta make sure everybody's stuff's straight before they get to practice. And then the first time I walk in, it's D-Wade, and I was like, so like, I gotta break the ice. So like, bro, what you want me to call you? Like, do I call you Dwyane, D-Wade? Like, how you want me, Mr. Wade? How you want me like proceed with this? And he was like, man, just call me Trey Wade. I was like, all right, whatever. But that was probably like oh shit, like I'm really in the NBA. Like we're teammates now. And I was like, damn. I remember calling my homeboy who was a D-Wade fan, like, dog, guess who I seen today? He was like, no shit. And I was kind of like, well, I mean, like, he talked to me. Like, he didn't like blow me off like anybody else. Like, it was just like, because he was like an icon of mine when I was younger, it didn't add up that he was like there. I was still looking at him like as Flash.
Right.
So for a minute, I was mentally like, that was the mental fuckery at that point, because I was like, I couldn't connect like him being a normal person to him being a basketball player.
Yeah,
and that kind of forged the gap when I got to actually be on the team with it.
We don't have to get into that first round series in 17-18, because in the annals of NBA history, it's a pretty meaningless series. But I just anecdotally, I was watching you guys play against the Bulls in Miami a few weeks ago, and you're switching on to Zach LaVine, you're switching on to DeMar, you're locking them up. I mean, you're playing great defense. And there was one play in the second half of the first game of that series in 17-18 when I came off a pick and roll on the right side, and you were sort of caught in between I don't know if you were supposed to be up in the pick and roll or if it was a switch, but you let me get to my right hand, and I didn't gather. I just kind of went up all right hand. You bumped me, and I laid it in. And watching you lock up DeMar and Zach, I remember thinking to myself that night, man, that might have been the greatest drive of my life. That might have been the best drive of my career. It was saucy too, man.
When else? See, I can talk my shit because now he wants to talk his. I remember they called it a goaltend, but JJ.
Oh my God. Wait, hold on. Was I with the Sixers or was I with? Oh, I was with the Sixers. I went up with the lefty lay in the first half,
and I caught this shit out there, and they called it the goaltend. So that was what, my second year at the time?
That was your second year. That was early in the season.
Yeah, that was when I started to coach. I started to get out my shell. That's when I wanted to become the DPOY. That's why I I hate it had to be you, JJ. You're not the only one. So like,
definitely not the only one. Definitely not the only one.
So it was just that moment was kind of like, no, he can guard 1 through 5. Like we found this one that can do 1 through 5. Like we found the guy that can do it. Like UD. Like back in the day, UD used to switch 1 through 5. Now UD was always an underside center. We get that. But it was like we found our UD like 2.0. And the fact that he can mentor me just made it worthwhile, because he's such a down-to-earth person at the end of the day.
Was there a specific matchup in that sort of coming out of the shell process where you played well, like on a KD or something like that, and you were like, all right, I really can do this?
It was a clip everybody showed where I got to stop on Steph. And, before that, what was they calling the baby-faced assassin. That's when he was just, just shooting and just turning around, running back, having fun. And who else they have on the team? And that's when they had KD.
Yeah, that was KD's last year, probably.
Yeah. So that stop was kind of like a monumental point in my career. Because it was like, okay, this is like, if I didn't solidify it with JJ's block, this.
I really fucking hope it wasn't my block. Hey, Bam, I probably, first of all, I have a negative wingspan, and I remember the play. I probably jumped all of 7 inches off the ground. It was good timing, but it wasn't like it was the most difficult defensive play you've ever made.
I appreciate it, though, because it got me minutes. You don't understand, JJ. It got me playing time. That's how I got on the court, because I switched 1 through 5 and I played defense, and the offense came later.
The offensive jump, and obviously the steady improvement defensively, but that third year, you make the All-Star game, you're second and most improved player, you make second team all defense. Was there a moment, or was there a stretch of games that season that sort of gave you the confidence to break out in that way? Because to me, that was a huge jump, and I pay attention to the league even as a player. I did, and you always heard that about you, like, oh, Bam's going to be really good. The Heat are really high on Bam, and then all of a sudden, the third year, it's like, oh shit, he's good.
Which game I would say? I would say my first triple-double. It was against the Hawks, and it was like it was crazy because we were down 5 with like 50 seconds left, and Duncan hits the 3. And somebody gets a crazy breakaway layup. We get a stop, and it goes into overtime. And I was looking up, and I was like, "Damn, I can get me a triple double." Like I had like 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and I had like 26 points. So like at that point, I feel like I'm hooping. So we get in overtime. I get the triple-double, and all I needed was the win. And it was also when Jimmy had a triple-double. It was the first time in Heat history 2 people had triple-doubles. So after that, it was like, damn, like, I can be around this league if I can play like this all the time. Like I can be a factor in the NBA if I can keep this up. And, Spo let me, like, he stopped micromanaging my shots at that point. At that point, Spo wasn't nitpicking at me about certain shots and certain situations. It was kind of like he let me go. And it was the best thing for my game, and obviously me.
Are you a coffee drinker?
No.
You've never tried Jimmy's coffee?
I've never tried Jimmy's coffee. Jimmy told me I could invest in the company if I put what did he tell me? My 15 mil.
Jimmy's such a dick.
There you go. There it is.
What was your first interaction with him like when he came?
My first interaction. Damn, what was my first interaction with Jimmy? It was kind of like, "What's up, dog?" Like it wasn't nothing too major, but it was the social media that like was making Jimmy out to be like a cancer, his bad teammate. That's when he was leaving. You heard the Minnesota situation and this, that, and the third. And it's crazy because I almost got traded for Jimmy.
To Minnesota.
Before
the Philly thing.
Yeah.
Jimmy always wanted to be on the Heat. Let's be very clear about that. Jimmy always wanted to be on the Heat.
He did. But I almost got traded for Jimmy, and Pat wouldn't trade me. Like he was like, "Nah, I see something good in this kid." Yada yada yada. And at that point, I'm sweating bullets. Like, I'm not trying to get traded. I like it in Miami. It's warm. I kind of got my feet, I kind of got my feet wet. I'm familiar with the place. But first interaction, it was just same thing with D Wade. Like, what do you want me to call you? Jimmy? Like, how you want me to go about this? Mr. Butler? Like, just figuring out. And that was pretty much it. And then I figured out he plays phase 10. And I was like, bet. We can play phase 10. And that's kind of how, like, I got familiar with it.
Your guys' bubble run, and I was down there for 6 weeks. Obviously, we didn't make the playoffs.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucked. It was the only year of my career I didn't. But I there was this feeling that I had when I was there, and we would all practice in that one space. I can't remember which hotel it was at, and you'd run into other teams, and obviously they were staggering times of arrival or whatever, but you'd run other teams in the hallway. And I remember feeling like the heat every time I would walk by you guys. And I know I've known Chris Quinn for 20 years, and I would say hi to you guys, say hi to the guys on the team that I knew. You guys were just like, there was a seriousness for sure, but all of you had this like look of just like fuck off at all times. And that whole playoff run, Tommy and I, we kept talking about this on the pod. I'm like, the Heat are built for the bubble. There was something about the way you guys approached that internally. Was that discussed? Was that a conscious thing?
Yeah, it was. It was kind of like back in the earlier days where, like, if you were with your team, you were with your team. Like, it was no, I'm going to go hang out with the pool with them, and I'm going to go, have lunch with them, and, I'm going to walk around because he my homeboy from home. It wasn't none of that shit when we got in the bubble. It's us and it's them. Either you with us or you with them. It's one of the two. And there is no, gray area where you can be like, all right, I can do this, but, nah, it was like, and UD was the captain of that. It was like, man, listen, we not fucking around in this bubble. We already don't nobody want to be here away from their families, away from their comfort zone. So it was more so like, it wasn't fuck off, JJ. It was more so.
You pretty much had it written on your forehead.
It was more so like, this is a business investment. Like, this is like how we looked at the bubble was like, we're here. We got to make some shit happen. Because at this point, if we leave this bubble with no type of reward, anything, we wasted our fucking time. And nobody wanted to waste time. So that's why it was kind of like, we were all black, and it's, it was head down, and it was business because nobody wanted to be in that bubble and not get shit out of it.
What was going through your head right after the block?
If I could describe it, this is my mindset. I was like, damn, like, I did that. That was an out of body experience. Because for one, obviously me and JT known each other since we was in the sandbox. So I'm petty. So the first thing in my mind was like, oh, I'm going to talk my shit to him. Like, every year I send him the anniversary picture, like, dog, happy anniversary, man. Like, I appreciate you. Like, but it was one of those things where it was just an out of body experience.
Tommy and I talked about the block after it happened on the podcast, and my observation to this, and I'm curious to know what you felt in the air, because my observation was, as a guy who's broken his wrist a bunch and has fairly limited mobility in my wrist joints, the strength required at basically a a 90-degree angle to not allow that ball to get inside the basket. That was the most fascinating thing to me, was just how strong your wrists must be. I don't know. Like, what did you feel in the air? Was there a moment where you're like, oh shit, he's going to punch it? Like I didn't get there soon enough.
Yeah, it was a moment, it was a split second in my mind where it was like, either you're going to block it and we're going to win, or he's going to dunk it and they're going to win. There was no like, okay, if he missed, like, it could be, no, it was either going to be an and one dunk or regular foul, he miss it, and we still lose the game, or you're going to block it and we win the game. It was, and that's what it boiled down to. Like, I'm not going to lie. It sounded like if you was in the arena, it sounded like the ball burst. That's how like the impact was. Or like my thumb and pinky were numb. And I guess that's from my hand hitting the rim, this part hitting the rim. I don't know. But as you can see, I was in shock when I caught the ball, because I was like, oh, damn, like, we won. Like, I blocked it and we won, but it was more so like, damn, like, I got a historical block under my belt. And then obviously, Magic caught the best block in, playoff history and all that crazy shit. So
I don't know if you feel this way, and we were just talking about Jimmy, but in some ways, because of how things end in Chicago and Minnesota, Philly, whatever, I felt like that bubble run, I don't know if the word is validated or vindicated, but in some ways it validated Jimmy the basketball player, Jimmy the person. And as an extension of that, of course, it further validated Heat culture. You think that's accurate?
I think that's accurate. Because off the court, you got to see Jimmy's like charisma. You got to see like who he was as like a person. There was no going home in the bubble. It was, we're all going in our room and we're all on the same floor anyway. So like, don't nobody want to go crazy in our room. So like, yeah, like, we're gonna go to the lounge and hang out, play cards, and have crazy ass ideas like him making Big Face coffee. Like, the man was selling coffee out of his hotel room and calling it Big Face Coffee, and now it's an actual brand. Like, that's what the bubble did. But it also definitely validated him as a player, because I got hurt, Goran got hurt, and he has the 40-point triple-double in the finals. Like, some crazy shit a lot of people have never seen a lot of times. And especially, being him and hearing all the backlash he was getting through the Chicago, Minnesota, and Philly situations. It just, we kind of embraced who Jimmy was. Like, we knew Jimmy was an asshole at the end of the day. We all know that. But like, this culture embraces that. Like, we want you to bring that assholeness out. So then on the court, we got all 5 people that are like dogs. Like we want all 5 of y'all to be assholes. Because at that point, y'all not going to take no shit, and we not backing down from anybody. And that was kind of like his way of expressing himself in the finals. Like, I don't care if we're down two of our main guys. Like, I'm not backing down for y'all. And for him to put on those type of performances, I was like, damn, like, that was one of those games where, you would watch, guys like Kobe having the finals, MJ, LeBron. And then, for Jimmy to have that moment where like he can have his name stitched in history in the finals, it's just like, it just showed everybody, like, he's not a person that's going to back down.
To that point about not backing down, what have you enjoyed about, and also what have you learned from Kyle and PJ in particular this year?
Man, well, with PJ, you know, PJ allows me to, you know, go rogue sometimes on defense. Like me and Jimmy, like Jimmy will go for a steal, gamble, and PJ's always there to have our back. So with PJ, he's one of those dudes, man. Bottom line, he wants to win. Like, he don't care about nothing else. He was like, I'll do all the dirty work, you know, whatever it takes. But like, at the end of the day, as long as we win, like, we all go home happy. And Kyle, in his point in his career now, is on the same type of, you know, he's on the same wave. Like, he's done won. He knows that feels like. I don't know what that feels like. So I told them, I'm going to listen to y'all because y'all don't won. So therefore, let's get to this promised land so I can have my moment and have my stitch in history. But they're two of the most selfless guys on our team. Like, it's one of those things that helps us. Obviously, we don't have guys out there, that aren't playing for the team. So just having our point guard, PJ, Jimmy, and Max, us five just out there, trying to make each other better and make sure this thing works. It just speaks volume to, not only Jimmy, but Kalo and PJ.
Bam, you mentioned the Heat and the culture embracing the asshole in you, the embracing just players that have a chip on their shoulder. When something like what happened, 10 days ago, whenever it was, between Spo and Udonis and Jimmy, when they were arguing over dinner reservations, how quickly does the team recover from that? Is that something that lingers, for games, for days, or are you guys, because of the foundation you've built, able to recover quicker?
Yeah, I mean, because of the foundation that we've built as brothers, it doesn't last more than a day, and it shouldn't, because at the end of the day, it's all competition. Like we were losing. Like, it was bottom line. We were losing, not playing to our standard. And, at that point in time, you know this, JJ, when you're losing and not playing like y'all are supposed to, somebody can lose it at any point in time. And then, especially in our locker room, because we embrace dudes being themselves and being vocal and, bring that dog mentality every night, it can boil over. That's a regular practice day to us. Like, we talk shit to each other all the time in practice. Like, that's how competitive our practice is, to the point, like, Spo have to break. Like, he'll have to call off practice. Like, we're just, like, that's just the hunger in us. Like, it's just like, nah, like, we want to win that bad. And it was nothing personal in between, like, the argument. Like, everybody just see, like, Spo going at Jimmy, and then Jimmy going at UD going at Jimmy. But you see, the rest of us didn't overreact. It was the rest of us like, all right, like, this is a regular Tuesday. We got to break each other up, let everybody, settle down. And then we go from there. And then after that, we started to come back in the game. Like, it just flipped the switch. It was like, all right, now everybody's upset. Let's see what's gonna happen. Like, I don't think Spo said anything the remainder of the quarter. Like, I remember waving him off, like, you sending subs in, fuck no. Like, let us play the whole third. Because at that point, we had came back within like 4 points. But it doesn't last, because don't notice take it personal, because at the end of the day, the main goal is to win. And that's everybody's main agenda. Like, long as we win, we're cool. we gonna have discussions. We gonna have disagreements. We gonna have arguments that's damn near gonna be fights because we all want to win that bad.
That makes sense. Look, as a player in the NBA, the older I got, I realized it's okay if you only have, each player should be allowed 1 or 2 blowups a year. It's just it's too intense. There's too much pressure. It's a normal thing. Again, you mentioned it happening in practice, and a lot of times it does happen in practice, or a lot of times it might happen in the locker room. I think what was unique about this is not that it happened, it's that it happened on the court. That's sort of what's unique about it. Bam, we will have gotten into some of your defensive stats in our intro, and there's many of them that are phenomenal. Do you feel like you deserve Defensive Player of the Year this year?
Yeah.
Why?
JJ, you see me play. So, like, I legit guard 1 through 5. Like, at any point in time in the game, on the defensive end, I could guard all 5 players. Every last one of them. And would not bat an eye. Like, coaches throw me in the fire a couple times. He'll wait till the 4th and he'll be like, nah, you go guard him. Bam's got him. All right, I'm for it. Like, it's just like I take pride in defense. Like, I take pride in getting stops. That makes me feel great. I don't feel like I'm somebody's like little brother. Like when somebody, when dudes get in their mode and they make shots, they start doing all the antics and shit. Like, no, that's just not. I'm just not with none of that bullshit. So, like, I do, because I legit guard 1 through 5. And I feel like I make my teammates better on the defensive end also. Like I said, PJ allows me to go rogue. Every once in a while, I fuck up. I do. It's part of the game. But for the most times, like, it benefits us as a team. We got Jimmy, who's an incredible, gambler in the open court. Then you got PJ, you have me, you got Cal, and, they let me be who I am. Like, I get to go rogue every once in a while. Like, I get to go gamble for steals because I know if somebody get past me, Cal might take the charge, or it might be Jimmy getting the steal because, he threw a lousy pass. So for me, my teammates helped me become the Defensive Player of the Year. They trust that I will get a stop. They trust me to that point where, like, all right, Ben, you've been guarding this person the first 3 quarters, go and guard him, and nobody bats an eye. Like, it's done. It's a done deal. And at that point, you lock into your asshole's tendencies.
Shocked you didn't mention Duncan there when you were talking about all the great defenders you have.
God, man, here you go. Nah, Duncan's my guy. Duncan,
we love Duncan. We love Duncan.
Duncan has like the 3rd most charges on our team, I think. So, like, yeah, he's part of this culture too.
Oh, for sure. I'm teasing. I'm teasing Duncan.
Bam. Besides the obvious, did you have a favorite Team USA memory?
Favorite Team USA memory. I would say us eating Shake Shack before the gold medal game. That's my memory. Like, I feel like, hands down, that's, first of all, that sounds crazy that all of us would eat Shake Shack before a gold medal game. But it was just, we didn't have anything else. It was kind of like Shake Shack, and then we had this restaurant in our hotel, which was, first of all, shrimp tempura rolls was fire, hands down. But after a while, stuff, being there for what, a month and some change, like, stuff starts to get old. You want something. So Shake Shack was like our beach. Like, all right, you tired of this? Shake Shack. And I remember being like, damn, bro, we really eating Shake Shack before a gold medal game. And I remember Draymond being like, yeah, and we still gonna beat their ass. I feel like that's my best moment. That right there. And Draymond just coming out of nowhere like, we still gonna beat their ass.
Yeah. We've talked about this with Drew and with Kevin and a couple other guys who are on the team. This is a new experience for you. You've known these guys for a while, but you haven't been teammates with a lot of them. Was there anything you learned about anybody that you were just sort of like particularly either impressed by, surprised by, that you just were like, you can't really see it until you're playing with them?
I would say Drew Holiday defensively. Like, you see it on the court. Like, yeah, like Drew's a problem. But like being on his team, you'd be like, no, like you really disrupt a lot of like offense. Like he'll pick up their point guard 94 feet and you can't screen him. Like watching it from, being able to switch with him, like he wouldn't switch. Get through the screen. All right, cool. You got it. Whatever. So I said like, Drew was the person I was like, damn, like, and then obviously being on the team with Kevin Durant is obviously different because, seeing a guy move like that at 7 foot and just making some of the most difficult shots you've ever seen and making it look easy. I feel like that was like, he make a shot, we would be like, well, shit, that's just KD at this point. Like, he'll go from having 2 points and then in a hurry, he'll have 17.
I'll co-sign the Drew comment because I always knew he was a good defender. Even when he guarded me and playing against him, I knew he was a good defender. But then when I was on his teammate, when you're teammates with someone, you watch them every single game, every single possession, it's different. And that's when I realized Drew was just elite. Like there's no one really like him that can just stay in front of the ball
and
with in space, with distance. You mentioned 94 feet, like his ability to just navigate everything and still be in front of the ball. There's a great clip from last night guarding Kyrie down the stretch. Kyrie gave him every single dribble package that he had, and Drew just stayed right with him. Bam, we appreciate the time, brother. We're gonna let you go. This has been awesome, and best of luck to you guys coming up. All right, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, bro.
You was talking your shit about that first round.
All right, man. Appreciate it, bro.
Third.